Every book possesses a dual history. There is the history of the words printed on the pages, and there is the history of the physical object itself. The volume before me is a curious artifact. It is a custom edition, printed and bound at my request from a digital archive. The source of the material is the Sterling and Francine Clark Art Institute Library, specifically from the Beinecke Decorative Art Collection. There is something deeply satisfying about holding a book that exists because a reader willed it into physical form. A volume like the one in my hands acts as a bridge between a digital wall in Massachusetts and my personal library. The Beinecke collection is famous for preserving the decorative arts, yet here the art is stripped down to its skeletal remains. We are not looking at paintings or sculptures, we are looking at the DNA of beauty. Robert William Billings was a man obsessed with the Gothic, but unlike his contemporaries who focused on the romantic gloom of crumbling abbeys, Billings was interested in the math. He wanted to know why a stone window looks the way it does. He wanted to solve the puzzle of the curve. He lived in a time when the British architectural world was obsessed with its own past, trying to reclaim a sense of structural honesty that many felt had been lost to the Industrial Revolution. The central thesis of the book is staggering in its simplicity. Billings claims that 100 distinct complex designs can be birthed from a single diagram. In the world of philosophy, we often discuss the concept of the one and the many. It is the idea that the infinite variety of the universe arises from a single unified source. Billings provides a geometric proof for a metaphysical idea. The primary diagram consists of a series of intersecting circles and lines. It looks like a simplified version of a rose window or perhaps a celestial map. From a single arrangement of a compass and a straight edge, Billings begins a process of extraction. He does not add new elements, he merely highlights different paths within the same forest. To read the text is to witness a controlled explosion of creativity. Each plate represents a new possibility. One design might feel floral, like a petaled lily. Another feels sharp and aggressive, like a set of interlocking spears. Yet, when you look at the foundation diagrams provided alongside the finished plates, the illusion of complexity vanishes. You see the same circles, you see the same intersections. The title, The Power of Form, is literal. Form has power because it is governed by law. Billings suggests that the designer is not a god creating something from nothing. Instead, the designer is a discoverer, finding the shapes that were already hidden inside the geometry. He argues that even the most elaborate cathedral window is merely a subset of a circle. Why does such a work matter in 2026? Why should a reviewer of old books care about a Victorian manual for stonemasons? The answer lies in a modern struggle with the arbitrary. We live in an era where content is generated at dizzying pace, often without a structural code. Much of what people consume is aesthetic without being geometric. Billings offers an alternative. He argues that beauty is not a matter of opinion. Beauty is a result of logic. When a creator chooses a word because it feels right, that creator is being arbitrary. When a mason places a line because the intersection of two circles demands it, that mason is being truthful. Billings sought to eliminate the guesswork from the Gothic revival. He believed that if a student followed the foundation, the result would be objectively harmonious. There is a coldness to the perspective of Billings that feels refreshing. It removes the ego. The book does not ask the reader to be inspired. It asks the reader to be precise. It suggests that if we understand the fundamental diagram of any system, whether it is a book, a society, or a stone window, we can predict the forms that will emerge from it. The fact that the source for the copy in my hands originated from the Beinecke Decorative art collection is significant. Beinecke was a pioneer in preserving the how-to of history. Her collection was not just about the finished object, it was about the process. By making the archives accessible, the Sterling and Francine Clark Art Institute Library has allowed a dead manual to breathe again. In 1851, a person would have used a book like the one I have to carve stone. In 2026, a reviewer uses it to understand the philosophy of structure. The printed pages carry the weight of that transition. There is a peculiar clarity to the images in a bound edition like the one I ordered. While the original Victorian stock is far away, the act of printing the plates today brings the lines back into the physical world. We are looking at a reconstruction. It is an act of historical recovery performed in a local print shop. It proves that knowledge is not a static thing stored in a vault. Knowledge is an active process of reproduction and study. Billings was writing at a time when the world was becoming increasingly complex. The Industrial Revolution was tearing down old certainties. In the face of that chaos, Billings found order in the compass. He suggests that the infinite is not a lack of rules, but the result of rules applied perfectly. Consider the limitation of the one diagram. Most people would look at a single diagram and see a cage. They would think that being forced to use the same starting point for every design would lead to boredom. Billings proves the opposite. He shows that true creativity requires a border. Without the circle, the lines would wander aimlessly. With the circle, the lines become art. This concept is vital for the modern thinker. People often believe that total freedom is the requirement for a good life or a good book. Billings argues that total freedom is just noise. Meaning is found in the way we navigate the intersections of the circles we are given. The one diagram is a metaphor for the constraints of our own lives. We are given a certain set of circles, including our environment, our history, and our language. Our task is not to find a new diagram. Our task is to find the 100 designs hidden within the one we already have. There is a moral dimension to the work of Billings that often goes unnoticed. By insisting on the primary diagram, he was making a claim about truth. In the Victorian era, many architects were simply copying styles without understanding the underlying principles. Billings saw this as a form of intellectual dishonesty. He believed that if you do not understand why a form exists, you have no right to use it. By printing this volume today, we participate in that same search for truth. We are not just looking at pretty patterns, we are studying the internal consistency of a system that refuses to take shortcuts. Every line in these 100 designs can be justified. Every curve has a reason for being exactly what it is. In a world that often prizes speed over substance, the slow, deliberate pace of these geometric foundations serves as a necessary correction. It reminds the student that depth is found in repetition and refinement. Billings did not need 1,000 diagrams to make a point. He only needed one, applied with absolute discipline and an unwavering commitment to the rules of the circle. This level of focus is rare, and it is exactly what makes the Beinecke collection so vital for modern analysis. Robert William Billings concludes his work by asserting that the variety of designs is limited only by the power of the designer to combine the simple elements of the diagram. The Power of Form is a demanding book. It does not offer easy answers or pretty pictures without the cost of mathematical understanding. It requires the reader to trace the lines, to see the intersections, and to respect the law of the curve. If you ever find a way to access these plates, perhaps by printing your own edition, as I have done, spend time with them. Do not just look at the patterns, look at the foundations. You might find that the most complex problems in your own work can be traced back to a single simple diagram. The beauty is not in the design. The beauty is in the logic that made the design inevitable. Knowledge is only as valuable as the use we make of it. By bringing the book into the physical world, we keep the conversation with Billings alive. We prove that 1851 is not so far away and that the laws of geometry remain as rigid and as beautiful as they were in the 19th century. The form remains, the power remains. Please like and share to support these deep dives into the history of old books. Subscribing joins a community dedicated to preserving the logic and wisdom found in forgotten texts. Your support helps rescue these manuals from the archives and bring their foundations back into the light.